الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, we continue reading in what the author she had mentioned, حفظها الله تعالى, with regards to tarbiyat al-awlad, cultivating and raising the children, teaching them and educating them and disciplining them with the legislation and the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to the sunnah and the laws and legal ways of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that which the righteous and pious predecessors were upon from the upright and pure creed, the creed of At-Tawheed, and likewise from performing the obligations and establishing them in the manner required, beginning with the obligations of performing the rights of Allah Azza wa Jal, the pillars of Al-Islam, and establishing those great rights, the rights of As-Salafy and the likes, and likewise avoiding and staying away from the prohibitions, as well as teaching them and educating them and disciplining them with regards to the manners and conduct and etiquettes and the behavior and the way that they speak and carry themselves and the way that they move throughout life on a daily basis. So we continue reading. The author, she mentioned the 18th point, and she says, حفظها الله تعالى لا تتركي أطفالك يخالطون الأولاد السفهاء فإنه بذلك سيأخذ أقوالهم وأفعالهم القبيحة ويهدم ما علم. So she mentions a very important point here, point number 18, and she says, حفظها الله تعالى, do not leave your children. Do not leave your children, O sister. لا تتركي يعني أنتِ يا أختي. Do not leave your children, O my sister, to mix with the foolish kids. Yani the kids who are fools and they act a fool and they're very foolish. And this is from the most important advice with regards to raising the children. لا تتركي أطفالك يخالطون الأولاد السفهاء. Do not leave your kids mixing and playing and running around with the foolish kids, the kids that are considered sufaha. As-sufaha, this is the plural of as-safi. As-safi man bihi safahun wa khifatu al-aql. Wa khifatu al-aql. The person who's considered a safi is translated to mean a fool. The one who is a fool, meaning he's ignorant and his mind is very weak and he doesn't comprehend and understand that which is beneficial for him and nor for others. And many times the safi, like the jahil, the fool, like the one who is ignorant, he will move in a manner trying to fulfill his pleasures, and in reality he will only bring about his own destruction. And this is the case of those awlad al-sufaha, those foolish and ignorant children who have no understanding and no true comprehension and no upbringing in reality of this life, no true upbringing upon the sunnah and upon the tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the remembrance of the hereafter. They're entirely lost. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. Do not leave your children to play with him. Do not leave your children to mix with him and run with him and play with him. She's saying because فَإِنَّهُ بِذَلِكَ سَيَأْخُذُ أَقْوَالَهُمْ وَأَفْعَالَهُم الْقَبِيحَةِ. Because in this manner, if you leave your children to run and play with the foolish children, then your child is going to take from them those filthy and lowly and disgusting statements and actions. Then your child is going to learn from those children, those foolish children, their filthy manners and their lowly conduct and their speech that is not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fools, the ignorant, those who are misguided, those who are not steadfast and upright, those who do not have the proper upbringing nor the proper understanding of this life and its reality and the fact that we're created and we are held accountable for our actions and our deeds, and our Creator is one. His name is Allah, Rabbul Alameen, and He is mighty and powerful and strong, and He is all merciful for those who seek a path to His mercy by obeying Him and obeying His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet likewise He is the most severe in punishment, subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those who disregard His commandments and show no care or concern for His prohibitions and violate those rights, then indeed Allah, He is severe in punishment, and we're all returning to Him, and this is something we cannot flee from nor can we hide. nor can we hide. So no doubt the children, they're going to play, and the children, they're going to have fun. But the children who is raised upon the proper methodology, he's going to play in a manner that's allowed and permissible. And his playing is not going to lead him to become entirely forgetful of Allah Azza wa Jalla until he acts like a fool in his statements and in his actions and in his deeds. As for those people who have no proper creed, they have no proper education and proper understanding, they have no discipline with regards to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then they say and they do whatever they like. And the one who's left to say and do whatever he likes, many times he will say and do that which is displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jal, and that which will earn the anger of Allah Azza wa Jal. And many times the likes of these children, they'll play games that are haram and impermissible, and they'll have statements that are haram and impermissible, and they'll be following their desires and the likes like this. So this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous. She says again, فَإِنَّهَا بِذَلِكَ سَيَأْخُذُ أَقْوَالَهُم وَأَفْعَالَهُم الْقَبِيحَةَ وَيُهْدَمُ مَا عُلِّمَ. وَيُهْدَمُ مَا عُلِّمَ. In this manner, by leaving the child to mix with the foolish and the ignorant, misguided children, the children with lowly manners and bad conduct. Meaning, this is understood here, from the Muslims. So how about the non-Muslims? وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. They will not be left to play with the non-Muslims. They will not be left to play with the disbelievers. They will not be left to mix freely with the Christians and the Jews and the pagans and polytheists. They will not be left to run around freely and play with the innovators and the people who follow the deviant sects and the deviant ways, like the Ikhwan Muslimin and the Jamaat Tabligh and the rest of those deviant people. They will not be left to play with their children and the likes like this. Rather, they will be kept close to the parent, and the parent will find a way to deal with these affairs. And these are no doubt challenges. But the people of knowledge, they mention that having no friends is better than having bad friends. That having no friends is better than having bad friends, because from the fastest means to go astray and to be misguided is to be in the wrong company. And likewise, from the fastest means, by the mercy and grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, to be guided and to be upright and to be steadfast upon the deen of Allah, is to have noble and good company. So the companionship is something that is serious. She says that if you leave your child in this manner, he's going to learn from them and take from them their foul and their lowly, despicable statements and actions. And then she mentions another point. Likewise, وَيُهْدَمُ مَا عُلِّمَ. And everything that he has been taught is going to be destroyed. Everything that he's been taught is going to be destroyed. If you sit in the house with your child, for example, and you follow those previous steps, Barakallahu fiki ya ukhti. If you follow those previous steps, my noble sister, that which has preceded, 17 great and very beneficial points so far with regards to the raising the child, then you missed this point here and you left that child to run around with those foolish, misguided, and undisciplined children, then everything that you have worked so hard to teach him will be undone in moments. All that great effort to cultivate the child and to raise the child and to teach the child, to discipline the child, to refine the child, to preserve the fitrah and the natural disposition of the child, to protect the tawheed of the child and the creed of the child, to keep the child so pure, all of that will be undone and untied and unraveled and let loose at one time, and that is by getting in the company of the children that have loose tongues and they have foul tongues and lowly manners, and especially whenever they're mixing amongst each other, the male and the female. So this is a means to destroy everything that has been taught before, and likewise the means for the child to become confused and to not understand clearly and to be misguided, that he's hearing one thing in the home in this manner like this, or one thing in the masjid or in the class with the believers, and then he's seeing something in reality being practiced in front of his eyes. And no doubt this life is delightful, and the pleasure of this life is something to enjoy, and a person, he can be lost in that pleasure. So to be around those children who have no knowledge of the hereafter and no knowledge of the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jal, they have no knowledge of the punishment in the grave and the accountability in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do not truly have the proper creed and belief with regards to the Jannah and the Nar, with regards to the paradise and the hellfire and the likes like this. Or even they're non-Muslims, even worse and more severe, وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, then this is going to be from the greatest means to confuse them and to mislead them. And many times the child will become attached to them and he will like their ways. Because the child at this time, he's just, he doesn't have maturity to really discern and to choose. and he's quick to follow his desires and to look for that which is easy and delightful and something that is fun and that will make him laugh and smile. This is what the children are after. They like to play. They like to play. So the disbelievers especially, and likewise those other misguided Muslims who have no care and concern for the proper cultivation upon the correct creed and belief and methodology, then they know nothing except for playing. يَلْعَبُونَ لَاهِيَةً قُلُوبُهُم. They're playing and their hearts are engulfed and full of love and joy and laughing and joking with regards to this life. Love and joy of this life and laughing and joking, and they're forgetful and heedless of the hereafter. And they're forgetful and heedless of the hereafter. So this is very, very important. It has been collected by Abu Dawood and likewise at Tirmidhi and also at Imam Ahmed rahimahumullah ta'ala from the hadith of Abi Hurayrah radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, الرجل على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. That a man, he is upon the religion of his companion. A man, he's upon the religion of his close friend and companion, the one whom he admires and loves, and the one who he hangs around and keeps in his company. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. And so one of you must look to who he takes as a companion. So one of you must look to whom he takes as a companion. Because this is very serious. If a person he has a companion upon a good way, then he's going to be upon the way of his companion. And if a person he has a companion upon a foul way, then he's going to be upon the way of his companion. The Arab, they say, الطيور على أشكالها تقع. The birds of a feather, they flock together. Birds of a feather, they flock together. You find that the righteous and noble, they will be in the company of the righteous and the noble, and they cannot stand to be in the company of the foolish and wicked. Rather, whenever the two are forced to meet in certain circumstances, they'll turn away from each other, and they will avoid each other because they do not like each other. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Al-arwahu junudun mujannada." Al-arwahu junudun mujannada. Ma ta'arafa minha talafa, wa ma tanakara minha ikhtalafa. That the souls, they're like forces that are gathered, and those that are similar, then they come together and unite, and those that are different, then they separate from each other. The people of like minds, they're together, and the likes like this. So this is the case. So you yourself, you have to be careful who you take as a close companion. Who you take as a close companion. In one wording of this narration, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِطُ. And the previous narration, مَنْ يُخَالِل, that one of you should look to whom he takes as his companion. There's another wording in Al-Musnad by Imam Ahmed rahimahullah, فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِطُ. And this one is more general. This one is more general. Then let one of you look to whom he mixes with. So one wording of the narration is so one of you should look to whom he takes as a close companion. The other wording is more general. Let one of you look to whom he mixes with. Whom he finds himself in his company, even if he didn't happen to take him as a close companion. Because even those people whom we're forced to mix with and see on a daily basis and associate with, if we're not careful, they will affect us. And if they're good, then this is good, and they will affect us in a good way. But if they're not good, then they will affect us in a bad way. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. And the people of knowledge, they say, as-sahibu sahib. As-sahibu sahib. That a companion, he's going to pull you along with him. As-sahibu sahib. Literally, a sahib means somebody who's pulling. And the puller, he's going to pull you along with him, whatever he's involved in. So if you have a companion that's involved in goodness, that's involved in establishing the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal and the likes like that, seeking knowledge and learning and benefiting and turning away from the deviations and the lowly ways of the people of this life, then he's going to pull you along with him in that. But if you have a companion who is engulfed in the love of this life and misled and misguided and overcome with doubts and misconceptions or with sins and deviation, then he's going to pull you along with him in that. So therefore it's very important for a person to look whom they themselves take as companions and who they mix with and who they keep company with. She's mentioning here an obligation and incumbent as well for those who have others under their care to look at whom those who are under their care mix with and take as companions as well. Whom they mix with and take as companions as well. It's been narrated from Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah. He said, لَيْسَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ أَن يَمْشِيَ مَعَ مَنْ شَاءَ مَعَ مَنْ يَشَاء. لَيْسَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ أَن يَمْشِيَ مَعَ مَنْ يَشَاء. It's not allowed for a believer to just walk around with anybody they like. and meaning to hang out and to take companions and friends with anybody they like. This is not something that's allowed. It's not allowed just to hang out with the people who are wicked, with the people who are disobedient, with the people who have foul and lowly manners, with the people who have despicable tongues, and their speech is foul, and the likes like this, and the content of their speech is foul, and the manner of their speech is foul. And likewise, those people who disbelieve, so on and so forth. The worst of all foul and lowly manners, to disbelieve in the Lord of the worlds, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not allowed to hang out with anybody we like, whether we have to be diligent to look to whom we hang out with, whom we take as companions, and whom we sit with, and whom are in our company, and the likes like this. This is what she's referring to here, especially you, sister, with regards to your child. Especially you, sister, with regards to your child. And we have seen some of the worst of affairs happening in these days, and that is that some of the parents, they have become so misled and so ignorant that they will single-handedly take their own child and leave them for hours in the hands of the disbelievers, with not one believer around, leaving them with the disbelievers for hours to teach them and to raise them and to cultivate them and to put in their head whatever they like. And that which they're putting in their heads in those places nowadays is some of the worst and most filthy of affairs. The gay rights and the gender rights and the likes like this. This is something that's being forced upon the children at a very young age, and much indecency and fahisha. Not to mention that which is amongst the children themselves already, who are raised in those homes, the homes of the disbelievers. No, we're talking about the educational system itself now. It's not introducing, rather implying and forcing on the people, forcing on the children that they should be homosexual, that the girl can look like a boy and the boy can look like a girl, and there's a curse for all of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He destroyed the people of Lut alayhi salam, because of this affair. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he cursed the men who imitate women and the women who imitate men. So how about the one who's so confused, who thinks he's a woman and he's a man, and the woman who thinks she's a man and she's a woman, waliyadu billah. And even more lowly than all of that is to enforce it upon the children that this is a good way. This is a good way. This is what is happening in the schools in these lands today, here in Georgia and in other states. And this is something that is well known. This is something that is well known. So how, after knowing this and having no doubt about that, how could a believer leave his child in the hands of those people? Even before this was happening, it's not allowed. It's not allowed to leave the child in the hands of those people to raise them. It's not allowed. The disbelievers in their schools and their children and the likes like this, and even from their manners, is that they have boyfriend and girlfriend. Maybe they'll be in the 3rd grade, the 2nd grade, they have boyfriends and girlfriends, and they encourage this. And the one who has the most girlfriends, he's the most popular. And the likes like this. And the girl who has the most boyfriends and runs through the most boys and the likes like this, then she's the most popular in school. This is the way of the disbelievers. This is considered good. This is considered good. So a person, if he were really to try to mix with them and then follow their religion and lower his gaze, he will be belittled, and they will laugh at him and they'll mock him and call him names and the likes like this. So he will have a very, very difficult time holding fast to the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal, even at a young age. So how about whenever they become older and they actually have desires that are riling up in their hearts and in their souls? Waliyadu billah. This is something that's very dangerous. Many times we see now that we look at our children and the parents, they wonder, why? What happened to my child? My child doesn't pray. My child doesn't do this. My child talks back. This is something normal. The American people, their children talk back to their mothers and fathers. The children talk back to their mothers and fathers. This is something that's known. And if the mom or the dad tells the child he can't go out, the child's going to tell the mom and dad, I don't care what you say, I'm going to go out anyways. This is something that's normal. And then if somebody came to one of those disbelieving children from the Americans in this day and said, oh, my father said I can't go outside, it's going to be like, you listen to your father? And they were going to encourage them to do everything they can to disobey Allah Azza wa Jalla, and to encourage them upon the foul way. So, Ya ukhti, la tatruki atfaliki yukhalitun al-awlad as-sufaha. Oh, my noble sister, don't leave your children mixing around with the foolish children. فَإِنَّهُ بِذَلِكَ سَيَأْخُذُ أَقْوَالُهُم وَأَفْعَالُهُم الْقَبِيحَةَ. Because in this manner, your child is going to learn and take those foul and disgusting manners from their statements and their actions. وَيُهْدَمُ مَا عُلِّمَ, and everything that he's been taught before from the lofty and good way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is going to be undone and destroyed. Is going to be undone and destroyed. So she says, وَالشَّاعِرُ يَقُولُ, and the poet, he says, وَالطِّفْلُ يَحْفَظُ مَا يُلْقَى إِلَيْهِ وَلَا يَنْسَاهُ إِذْ قَلْبُهُ كَالْجَوْهَرِ الصَّافِي فانقش على قلبه ما شئت من خبر فسوف يأتي به من حفظه وافي. She mentions some lines of poetry, and they mean that the child, it memorizes, the child, the one who's a child, and from an early age, the child, it memorizes everything that is presented to it, and it doesn't forget it, and its heart is like a pure gem and jewel, and like a pure jewel, and ready to just soak up anything that comes its way. This is the way of the child. فَانْقُشْ. So she says, وَالطِّفْلُ يَحْفَظُ مَا يُلْقَى إِلَيْهِ وَلَا. So the child, it memorizes everything that's presented to it, and it does not يَنْسَى وَلَا يَنْسَى إِذْ قَلْبُهُ كَالْجَوْهِرِ الصَّافِي. And it does not forget. The child, it does not forget that, because its heart is so pure and clean, like a pure jewel. فَانْقُشْ عَلَى قَلْبِهِ مَا شِئْتَ مِنْ خَبَرٍ. So therefore, engrave in its heart that which you like from information. فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي بِهِ مِنْ حِفْظِهِ وَافِي. Because indeed that child will bring it proper and full, just in the manner that it was mentioned. And meaning that whatever the child is taught at an early age, whatever it hears, whether it's from the parents themselves or from the other siblings, or whether it's from individuals they mix with in other environments outside of the house, or whether it's what they hear from the YouTube or from the other social media platforms and the likes like this, whatever they're listening to, especially at this young age, it will stick in their heart and remain. And they will not forget it. Many people who are, maybe some of these brothers that are sitting here with us today, that were raised in America, there are certain melodies and tones and certain songs that were introduced maybe a lifetime before they accepted Islam, that if they were mentioned, they could recite it properly off the top of their head. If it's mentioned, when the season comes, the chime comes, all of a sudden it all comes back, and he knows it word for word and line for line. Word for word and line for line. And it's all about shirk and disbelief. But that's because whenever he was a child, that's all he heard. Every year, time after time. Jingle bells and the likes like this. These things have been imprinted in the hearts of many of the people. Jingle bells, and the likes like this. And this is all got shirk in it. He knows if you've been sleeping. He knows if you're awake. And subhanAllah, these things have been imprinted on the hearts of the children, because this is what they grew up to and this is what they know. So how about if we imprint on the heart of our children the tawheed of Allah, which is already there, which is already in the fitrah that they're created with, and we preserve that and we maintain that and we cultivate that, and we do our best to raise our children in this manner, all the while begging Allah to help us and to aid us and to protect our children. Inshallah, we will raise a good generation. Inshallah, we will raise a good generation of Muslims whom, whenever they call on Allah, Allah will respond to them and help them. And whenever they seek His aid, then He will help them and give them support. And there will be a benefit to revive this ummah and to bring benefit to mankind. But as for if all we care about is this worldly life, and we have no concern for the deen, and we look only to this physical life, and we turn away from the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, even in raising our children, then whenever we meet Allah Azza wa Jal, we have a great reckoning. We'll have a great reckoning in front of Allah Azza wa Jal for ourselves and our own souls, and likewise for those souls who are under our care and concern that we neglected. It's an obligation that we hold fast to our religion. It's an obligation that we take the best effort for our children and those under our care to hold fast to their religion likewise. And from that is that we ourselves take good and noble companions. And likewise that we strive for our children to have good and noble companions, and that we ourselves avoid from being in the company of the wicked and ill, and from the foul and despicable, and from the lowly, from those who disbelieve first and foremost, and likewise from the innovators from the Muslims. So likewise, it's an incumbent upon us as well to keep our children away from them also. Only a fool, truthfully, if you think about what I'm going to say and ponder deeply and reflect, only a fool would put their child in the hands of their enemies to teach them and raise them. Only a fool would put his own child, in the hands of the enemy to raise them and to teach them and to cultivate them. Only a fool would do this. So this is something that's very serious. فَالطِّفْلُ بَالُهُ فَارِغٌ. She says, حَفِظَهَا اللَّهُ فَالطِّفْلُ بَالُهُ فَارِغٌ فَالطِّفْلُ بَالُهُ فَارِغٌ. Think about this affair. The child, his mind is empty. His heart is empty. His heart is empty, like the poet said, like a pure crystal gem. The heart of the child is empty. She says, قَابِلٌ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ, ready to accept everything. Ready to accept everything. Imagine with me now, barakallah fikum, so we see the gravity of this affair. A small young Muslim child, a small young Muslim boy, a Muslim girl who was born a Muslim. He's born in a Muslim home, born with the tawheed of Allah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he reaches the age where he's old enough to start learning and comprehending. And then the guardians of that child, of that noble Muslim child, that child who was blessed with tawheed, is taken and left in the hands of those who disbelieve. Those who say that Allah is the third of three. Those who say that there's no God. Those who say that it's allowed for a man to turn into a woman. Those who say that it's allowed for a man to come to a man. Rather, those who say, why don't you do it, young boy? Why don't you do it, young boy? Like this. This is something that is very sad. The child is ready to accept anything. His heart is empty. His heart is empty. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ, that every child is born upon the natural disposition, upon the fitrah, upon Islam, upon tawheed, upon the belief that there's nothing worthy of worship except for the Creator, alone with no partners. Every child has this ingrained in his heart. فَأَبَوَّاهُ يُهَوِّدَانِهِ وَيُنَصِّرَانِهِ وَمَجِّسَانِهِ. And it is his parents that turn it into a Jew or a Christian or fire worshiper in the life like this. This is because the parents, they cultivate it. So how about if the Muslim parents leaves its own child to go to those parents to cultivate their child in this manner? فَيُهَوِّدَانِهِ وَيُنَصِّرَانِهِ وَيُكَفِّرَانِهِ وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ, causing the child to become a Christian or a Jew or to disbelieve, or in any case to become very weak in their religion and to have many doubts and much problems in this life, and from following whims and desires. فَالطِّفْلُ بَالُهُ فَارِغٌ قَابِلٌ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. The child, its mind is empty and its heart is empty. It's ready to accept anything. It's ready to accept anything. The child is ready to accept anything. So we have to be very concerned with our children and raising them, and make sure that we introduce to their hearts that which is pure and good from the tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal, and cultivate them upon loving Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Cultivate them upon loving Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhum, teaching them about the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and Tabi'een and their noble lives and the goodness that they were upon, and how they used to strive against their souls to fear Allah, and that they used to look down on themselves, realizing the great bounty and blessing of Allah and their weakness, and they were repentant. And they were repentant to Allah Azza wa Jal, teaching them and showing them the lives of those who are righteous in order for them to take them as role models. And likewise clarifying for them the ills and the foul way of falsehood, the foul ways of the disbelievers, and that this life, although it looks delightful, it doesn't last, and much of it is not real, especially on the internet. Much of that which the children are watching on YouTube is not real. It's all made up. Videos are made up, images are made up, ideas are presented and made up, and they're not even real. People are saying or doing things on YouTube and it's all just graphics, it's made up, and it looks real and it's not even real. And many times there are people on the internet, they're talking, and one of them has a name of a man and it's a woman, or one will have a name of a woman, it's a man, and they have smiles on their faces, possibly in some of their pictures, but in reality they're wolves, and they're looking to harm the people. So this is a reality that we're looking after. So also from those companions that we have to be careful with regards to, that specific to our days, is the internet. Is the YouTube and the Facebook and the likes like this, because sometimes the social media, the children, they're coming in contact with companions and friends that are from those awlad sufaha, from those foolish and misguided children. And other times they're not even live people, but they're just that which live people have left on the internet, and they're witnessing these videos or listening to these audios, and they're surfing freely. This is very dangerous, especially for the children. So this is something that we should really take seriously, that we should know that we're going to be held accountable for our children, that the children, they're an amana. The children, they're an amana, they're a trust from Allah, and they can be a blessing for us if we do our best to raise them properly, and we strive to cultivate them. And if not, then they will be retribution for us, and we'll be held accountable. We'll be held accountable. And the guidance of the hearts is in the hands of Allah. So even if a person, he strived his hardest to raise a child, then in the end, whether the child truly is guided, this is in the hands of Allah. So that final outcome of the guidance of the child, the parents is not held accountable for that. But the efforts of striving and fulfilling those rights and cultivating the child and taking those means, this is an obligation, and the parent will be held accountable for that. Will be held accountable for that. And many times, those who are truthful and those who work hard and diligent and those who fear Allah Azza wa Jal and put their trust and reliance in Him, then Allah will help them and grant them success. But as we know, even some of the prophets, their children were not Muslims and were not guided. Like Nuh alayhi salam, his child was not a Muslim, rather he was drowned with those who were drowned. So this is the case, that we have to make the effort. We have to make the effort. In the end, the guidance is in the hands of Allah. But we will be held accountable if we were neglectful with regards to that right and with regards to that trust and amana. So she closes this point here and she says, وَكَمَا يُقَالُ الْعِلْمُ فِي الصِّغَرِ كَالنَّقْشِ فِي الْحَجَرِ. To emphasize this affair. Likewise, this point here has been narrated from Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, that knowledge in the young age, knowledge in youth is like an engravement in a rock. And this is the case. I need to emphasize, whatever the child learns whenever it's a child, it's like something that's engraved in the rock, engraved in a stone. And meaning that which is engraved in a stone, it will bear the weather, and it will be there after some time. It will be a long time before that which is engraved in stone will be worn away. Before the environment, before the rain and the sun and the wind and the likes like this will wear it away, it will stand and it will bear all of that for a great and a long time. And this is the example of that which the child learns in its early age and early stages. That which the child learns in an early age and at its early stages. Likewise, some of the people of knowledge have mentioned, and the contrary to this, وَالْعِلْمُ فِي الْكِبَرِ كَالْكِتَابَةِ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. And knowledge at old age is like writing on the water. So knowledge at a young age is like engravement in a stone. And as for knowledge, learning in an old age, it's like writing on the water. Meaning that a person, whenever he gets older and he tries to memorize and learn, it becomes more difficult and he forgets more often and more easily. So likewise, this is an encouragement for those who are young. And likewise, an encouragement for those who have others under them who are young, to take advantage of that mind and that pure heart with memorizing the Quran and memorizing the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and memorizing the beneficial text, clarifying the proper creed and belief. Because at this age, their hearts are like this. Whatever you put in there, they will be like an engravement. It will never leave. If they memorize the Quran at this age, inshallah, it will never leave. If they memorize the hadith at this age, inshallah, it will never leave. These mutun, like Usul al-Thalatha, for example, they memorize that, the 40 hadith of An-Nawawi, they memorize that whenever they're little. Even possibly they do not understand properly or completely these texts, but the point now is to take advantage of that pure heart and that great ability to soak up information and to put the good and pure knowledge there, the knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah, the knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah. And then as their mind matures little by little, you begin to teach them the meanings of these affairs. You begin to teach them the meanings of these affairs. So the one who had already memorized the Quran, or already memorized the hadith, or already memorized a particular text, and then later on he sits in a gathering, or somebody begins to teach him about these affairs, that information that's already memorized and with him, now he understands very quick. That knowledge that's being presented to him in detail and now connects with the text that has been memorized in his heart. And now he puts the dots together in this manner. And then after that, new understanding comes in clarification of that which is already preserved and committed to memory, and now he will have great benefit with him. Now we have great benefit with him. So al-ilmu fi al-sighri kan-naqshi fi al-hajar, wal-ilmu fi al-kibri kal-kitabati ala al-ma'. So knowledge, meaning learning at a young age is like engraving in stone. It's like engraving in stone. And learning in an old age is like writing on water. It's like writing on water. And if somebody took some ink and he painted some words on water, it would not be long before that which is written is gone. That which is written is gone. So we close with this point today. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.